Excited to welcome Jesse Montano into the show. He is from Guerrilla Sports, covers the Colorado Avalanche, and also great setup, great backdrop here, Jesse. Top tier.
Hey, thanks. I'm trying to match you guys here.
Yeah, no one beats Frank's setup. Let's start with the goaltending in Colorado. I want to come at this in a bit of like a two-pronged approach here because the numbers early on are ugly. What is the concern level right now in the duo of Annunen and Georgiev? And what is the concern level on a long-term view here? Are these two guys who they can trust to get the job done and take them on a run?
You know, I think trust is the word that is a little shaky around these parts right now. You know, both of these goaltenders have shown at different stretches that they're capable of winning games, for this Avalanche team. If you go back to Georgiev's first year here, he's a .918 goalie. You know, he played 62 games, won a lot of them, and kind of showed, hey, look, he can carry the load. But starting last year, inconsistency. I mean, it's 10 good games followed by 9 shaky ones, and it's 5 good games followed by 6 shaky ones. And Annunen, you know, he's a goaltender that they drafted in the 3rd round back in, I believe, 2016, 2017. They've built him up. He's been a really strong AHL goaltender for them, but he's got a really limited sample size in the NHL, including the 2 games that he's coming in relief this year, just 20 NHL games, and he's looked shaky. So they claimed Capo Kakinen off waivers just a couple days ago. He's going through the immigration process, coming from Winnipeg. So I think that was kind of our first sign. I've also been told they were in on Yaroslav Askarov. You can tell that they were feeling a little, twitchy about this tandem in terms of a full 82-game season. And that's a little bit heightened right now. In terms of the long term, unfortunately for Alexander Georgiev, the Avs have just shown they're not really in the business of paying goaltenders, large dollar amounts. So really for me, this is probably Georgiev's last year here either way. Either he continues the inconsistency and they don't want to deal with it going forward, or he plays really well and they don't want to pay him. So, long term, I don't see Georgiev here beyond this year. And as far as Annunen, like, he really needs to start showing something soon that's stealing minutes away from Georgiev, because he just hasn't done that in the 2 games where he's coming in relief. I think they're going back to Georgiev tonight.
Just quickly, you talked about the Askarov thing. I also don't forget at the deadline to talk about Marc-Andre Fleury. There is a bit of a history here of them being, as you said, twitchy, and I like that word. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, I was just going to say, Jesse, given all those things that you mentioned, how surprised are you that they didn't address their goaltending in a more meaningful way this summer instead of coming back to Georgiev after 74 games of .897 plus a goalie that you mentioned in Annunen who doesn't have any track record to rely on?
And, Frank, I think it's probably one of those things that if they weren't having to do the cap gymnastics that they were this summer, I'd be willing to bet they would have addressed it. But, you've got the uncertainty around Val Nichushkin. It sounds like they are planning on him being back, as soon as possible. He'll be into town at the end of this month to start trying to get back, on the ice in whatever capacities he's allowed to for now. And then the Gabe Landeskog stuff just continues to be a shifting goalpost of dates. So I'd be willing to bet Chris McFarland would have liked to address it. And again, I think the fact that he was in on Askarov says that they were even trying to, in whatever ways they could, fit it in under this cap. And now they're kind of in a tough spot. I'm really curious to see what Kakinen can kind of come in and do, even if he can't, take over, because you got him off waivers, so your expectations have to be realistic. But I think it also sent a message to both Georgiev and Annunen saying, since you guys are the only guys here right now, doesn't mean you're our only option. We'll go out and make some moves if we need to. But the Avs, this regime has preached patience, and they've practiced it over the last few years. So I think they're going to give Georgiev here a little bit of runway. But gosh, it feels like that leash is getting shorter by the day.
Yeah, it really does. You mentioned Landeskog, so let's go there.
Yep.
My understanding is that there actually has not been a date set. Give us behind the scenes on what's happening.
So I think there was like back-to-back weekends where Jared Bednar was at a charity event and someone asked him about it. And he kind of gave like a general, we're hoping for him back sometime near the beginning of the season. Then the following weekend, Gabe Landeskog went out and said, it's a matter of when, not if. And I think there was a lot of folks who kind of took that as like, oh, they're shooting for October. That has never sounded like the case to me. I think that we are probably looking best case scenario, probably the end of the year, early 2025, just based on what I'm seeing, based on what I'm hearing. We haven't seen Gabe Landeskog on the ice now for a little bit over a month, and we went through a stretch where we were seeing him out there pretty regularly. So again, I'm not necessarily saying there's been a step back or anything, but you're right. There hasn't been any kind of date set. And just based on what I'm hearing, like I said, I am thinking closer to the new year if things are going well. Now, we're also watching Lonzo Ball in the NBA. Same surgery, same doctor, about 3 months ahead of Gabe Landeskog. So Lonzo Ball has a return to play plan with the Chicago Bulls. He's not playing every night. They're limiting his minutes, but he's trying to get ready for the start of the season. So again, if you're going based on that 3 months, that puts him right around late December. But again, we'll see. This has been a really interesting process to follow from the very beginning before he got the surgery. And like I said, just the fact that we haven't seen him on the ice doesn't mean he's not skating, but he was starting to get integrated into some group activities here and there. We haven't seen that in about a month.
Last one I got for you is just quickly on the Mikkos Rantanen contract situation. I think an outsider will sit there and go, Nathan MacKinnon makes 12.6. Nobody makes more than Nathan MacKinnon on this team. So 12.5, 12.4. Is it going to be that simple, or is there a world where this gets more complicated?
From everyone I'm talking to right now, it should be about that simple. You know, that he's a player that wants to be here. They want him here. He's a huge part of their core. I think it'll be that simple, but I do also think the Leon Draisaitl extension affected this a little bit. You know, same agent as Mikko Rantanen. And from my understanding is they're making the argument, the cap's going up and the cap's going to continue to go up. So we want to get the most for our client, who's a 55 goal scorer, 100-point getter in the NHL, and you know, is off to a quick start here this season. I think when the chips are down, this is one that's going to get done, and it's not going to be overly complicated. The Avs understand how important he is to have here, and you are going to start to get some salary cap clarity at the end of this season. So I think it gets done, and I think it will end up being relatively simple. But my understanding is this was on track to get done before the season started, and I think there were some wrenches thrown into it with the Draisaitl deal and the number that one hit. Obviously, the Avs have a little bit of the advantage, being able to offer him the 8 years to kind of help with whatever he might get on the open market. But yeah, definitely a little bit surprised that it's gone into the start of the season. But I think they'll get it done. Both sides want it.
Jesse Montano from Guerrilla Sports, man, really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much, boys. Anytime.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.